Hi everybody, it's Monday, February 9th, 2026, and my goodness, do we have a significant winter weather story unfolding across southern Ontario. Toronto just hit its coldest temperature since 2018, and we are dealing with a prolonged polar vortex outbreak that shows no signs of letting up anytime soon. Environment Canada has issued yellow cold warnings across the entire region, with wind chill values plummeting to -30 to -35 degrees Celsius. This educational weather forecast is based on Environment Canada data, and folks, this is the real deal. Right now at Toronto Pearson International Airport, we're sitting at -7 degrees, but here's the kicker. With the wind chill, it feels like -30 this morning. What makes this particularly significant is that Toronto hasn't seen a sustained cold pattern like this in over a decade. Meteorologists from Environment Canada confirm the city has not experienced such a long run of sub-zero days since 2015, and we're not just talking about a day or two here. This Arctic air mass has been locked in place for weeks now, and it's showing remarkable persistence. Environment Canada issued the yellow cold warning for Toronto at 3:10 p.m. Eastern Time yesterday afternoon, warning of wind chill values -30 to -35 tonight into Monday morning. Now here's something important. These are yellow warnings, which means moderate impact level, but at these temperatures, the health risks are very real. At wind chill values of -30, frostbite can develop in 10 to 30 minutes on exposed skin. At -35, that timeline drops to just 5 to 10 minutes. This is not an exaggeration. If you're heading out across the GTA this morning, you're looking at brutally cold conditions. Hamilton is reporting -12 at the airport with a wind chill of -18. London is experiencing similar bone-chilling conditions with wind chills near -30. Kitchener-Waterloo is at -13, and across the board, we're seeing temperatures that haven't been this cold in southern Ontario since the January 2018 polar vortex event. Now let me talk about what's driving this extreme cold, because understanding the bigger picture helps explain why this pattern has been so stubborn. We're dealing with a weakened polar vortex, that swirling pool of cold air that's typically parked over the Arctic. When it weakens, Arctic air can travel south, and that's exactly what's happened. A large Arctic air mass has settled over the region, and here's where it gets concerning. A strong area of high pressure over the Atlantic Ocean has effectively blocked this Arctic air from shifting eastward, leaving it stalled right over southern Ontario. Instead of moving along like a typical weather system, the cold air mass has just lingered, keeping daytime highs below zero and allowing wind chills to dip into life-threatening territory. Let me break down what's happening region by region across southern Ontario, moving from west to east, because conditions vary slightly, but the cold is universal. Starting with Windsor and Essex County, you folks are dealing with -14 degrees right now at Windsor Airport with a wind chill of -17. Your yellow cold warning was issued at 3:09 p.m. Eastern Time yesterday. What makes Windsor's situation unique is that you've also been dealing with freezing drizzle advisories through the weekend. Areas of freezing drizzle have made surfaces extremely slippery, and that combination of extreme cold plus icy conditions creates a multi-threat situation for drivers. The good news for Windsor is that you're positioned to see temperatures moderate faster than areas to the east. You're looking at a high of -5 today, which is slightly warmer than the rest of the region. Moving east to London and eastern Middlesex County, the cold warning was issued at 4:31 a.m. Eastern Time this morning. Wind chills of -30 to -35 continue through this morning. London, you're sitting in the heart of this cold outbreak, and your forecast calls for a mix of sun and cloud today, with that high of -7. Tonight you're dropping to -11 with periods of light snow developing. That 40% chance of flurries signals a transition that we'll get to in just a moment. Now let's shift to Hamilton and the Niagara region, because this area has dealt with particularly challenging conditions over the past several days. Hamilton is currently at -12 at the airport with mainly sunny skies, but that wind chill of -18 makes it feel significantly colder. You're heading to a high of -6 today, with sunny skies becoming a mix of sun and cloud this afternoon. But here's what's critical for Hamilton. You've been dealing with not just the cold, but periods of lake effect snow and blowing snow that have created hazardous travel conditions. For Niagara Falls and the southern Niagara region, you've had an incredibly difficult weekend. Environment Canada issued a yellow advisory for blowing snow at 9:28 a.m. Eastern Time Saturday morning. What you've been dealing with is significantly reduced visibility in blowing snow with strong wind gusts that hit 40 to 60 kilometers per hour through the weekend. Strong northwesterly winds have been leading to blowing snow and near-zero visibility at times. Travel has been hazardous, and road closures have been possible. The advisory specifically warned residents to consider postponing non-essential travel until conditions improve. That lake effect snow machine has been running at full capacity, and areas south and east of Lake Ontario have seen substantial accumulations. All right, let's head to the Greater Toronto Area, the heart of southern Ontario, and where we're seeing some of the most significant temperature departures from normal. Toronto Pearson is reporting -7 degrees right now, and with that wind chill, we're at -30 this morning. The yellow cold warning continues, warning of those wind chill values -30 to -35. Here's your detailed timeline for Toronto. Right now, through early afternoon, we're looking at a mix of sun and cloud with that high of -7. Wind up to 15 kilometers per hour. Wind chill -30 in the morning, improving slightly to -10 this afternoon, but with a persistent risk of frostbite throughout the day. Tonight is where we see a significant change. We're going cloudy with periods of light snow beginning before morning. There's also a risk of freezing drizzle before morning, which could create black ice conditions for the Tuesday morning commute. Wind up to 15 kilometers per hour. Low -9. Wind chill -8 in the evening and -14 overnight. For Kitchener-Waterloo, you're at -13 at the airport right now, and you're looking at -10 for a high today with cloudy skies. Tonight, -11 with that 40% chance of flurries. The yellow cold warning issued at 10:22 a.m. Sunday morning continues with wind chills of -30 to -35. Now, let me talk about the extended forecast, because while this cold pattern has been remarkably persistent, we're finally going to see some moderation over the next few days. But here's the thing, we're not returning to seasonal normals immediately, and there are indications this cold could make a return later in February. Tuesday, February 10th, is going to be the turning point across southern Ontario. Toronto, you're jumping to a high of +1 degree. That's an 8-degree temperature increase from Monday. You've got a 70% chance of snow during the day, and we could see 2 to 5 centimeters of accumulation as that milder air pushes in. Hamilton, you're at +2 Tuesday with periods of light snow. London, you're at 0 degrees with 70% chance of snow. This transition is going to bring light to moderate snowfall across the region, and that snow combined with the temperature change means Tuesday morning's commute will require extra time and caution. Wednesday, February 11th, we're looking at highs around -1 to -3 across the region. Toronto sits at -1 with a mix of sun and cloud and 30% chance of flurries. Hamilton at 0 degrees. Wednesday night, lows drop back to -7 to -11 across southern Ontario. Thursday, February 12th, brings cloudy skies and temperatures around -2 to -4 during the day. Night temperatures -8 to -11. Friday, February 13th, continues the pattern with highs around -1 to -2 and a mix of sun and cloud. Saturday, Valentine's Day, we're looking at highs around 0 to +1 degree with a mix of sun and cloud. Much more pleasant conditions compared to what we're experiencing today. But here's where things get concerning from a long-range perspective. The European model, American GFS, and Canadian models are all showing that while we get this brief reprieve through mid-February, the pattern could make a return later in the month. We're looking at the possibility of another prolonged stretch of below-normal temperatures before winter finally loosens its grip. Forecasters are closely monitoring a potential stratospheric warming event that could split the polar vortex in mid-February, and when that happens, it typically signals another round of Arctic air pushing south. We're not looking at immediate impacts from that, but it's something to watch as we head into the latter part of February. What makes this January into February cold outbreak historically significant is not necessarily the individual temperatures. We've seen colder days in Toronto's climate record. The record cold for Toronto is minus 33 degrees Celsius back in January 1859, and more recently in January 2018, we saw temperatures near minus 23 with wind chills approaching minus 30. What makes this event stand out is the duration. We're looking at the longest sustained period of sub-zero temperatures since 2015, and that persistence is what's really testing infrastructure, residents, and municipal services. The atmospheric setup driving this is fascinating from a meteorological perspective. That weakened polar vortex has allowed this Arctic air mass to push south and then get stuck. The blocking high pressure over the Atlantic is preventing the normal west-to-east progression of weather systems, essentially trapping us in this deep freeze. Lake effect snow has been enhanced by the temperature gradient between the Arctic air and the relatively warmer Great Lakes water, which is why areas downwind of the lakes, particularly Niagara, Hamilton, and parts of the GTA, have seen such significant snowfall totals over the past 2 weeks. Now, here's the critical safety information you need to know, because at these temperatures, we're not just dealing with discomfort, we're dealing with genuine health risks. At wind chill values of minus 30, frostbite can develop in 10 to 30 minutes on exposed skin. At minus 35, that timeline drops to 5 to 10 minutes. Watch for cold-related symptoms, shortness of breath, chest pain, muscle pain and weakness, numbness and color change in fingers and toes. If you have to be outside today, dress warmly in layers. The outer layer should be wind-resistant. Cover up completely. Frostbite can develop within minutes on exposed skin, especially with wind chill. Make sure you have a hat, gloves or mittens, and a scarf or neck warmer to protect your face and neck. If possible, limit your time outdoors to essential activities only. When you do go outside, try to take breaks in warm places to prevent dangerous drops in body temperature. For those commuting this morning, make sure you have emergency supplies in your vehicle. Extra blankets, jumper cables, a flashlight, a phone charger, and some non-perishable snacks. Battery failures are extremely common at these temperatures, so if your car won't start, you want to be prepared. Keep a bag of sand or kitty litter in your trunk for traction if you get stuck. And here's something important. Let someone know your route and expected arrival time if you're traveling. Check on elderly family members, friends, and neighbors today. Older adults are particularly vulnerable to extreme cold. If it's too cold for you to stay outside, it's too cold for your pet to stay outside. Bring pets indoors, and if you see outdoor cats or strays, try to provide them with shelter from the elements. For outdoor workers, construction crews, utility workers, transit operators, delivery drivers, please take this cold seriously. Take regularly scheduled breaks to warm up. Employers should be monitoring conditions and adjusting work schedules accordingly. Your health and safety are paramount. Municipal services across the region have been responding to this prolonged cold outbreak. Toronto has activated its extreme cold weather plan, with warming centers open across the city. Hamilton has similar services available. Peel Region, Durham, and York Region all have warming centers and emergency shelters for people needing a place to stay. If you or someone you know needs shelter from the cold, call 311 in your municipality for warming center locations and hours of operation. For the Tuesday morning commute, that freezing drizzle risk is particularly concerning. Black ice can form quickly when temperatures are near zero and precipitation is falling. It's nearly impossible to see, which makes it extremely dangerous. Give yourself extra time Tuesday morning. Drive slowly, accelerate and brake gently, and maintain increased following distances. If you don't have to drive Tuesday morning and can work from home, that's your safest option. Looking ahead at the bigger picture, we're dealing with a weather pattern that climate scientists and meteorologists have been studying intensely. This prolonged cold snap is connected to broader atmospheric patterns, including the polar vortex behavior, which can be influenced by Arctic warming and other factors. While we can't attribute any single cold outbreak directly to climate change, in fact, cold outbreaks are expected features of winter. The persistence and blocking patterns we're seeing are areas of active research. The seasonal normal high for early February in Toronto is around minus 2 degrees Celsius, and we'll be hovering right around that mark by the weekend. The long-range pattern through mid-February suggests we'll stay in this cooler-than-normal regime, and then there's potential for another cold push late in the month. Spring feels a long way off right now, but we are gaining about 1 hour and 15 minutes of daylight through the month of February, and that astronomical change is happening regardless of what the temperatures are doing. Let me quickly recap the key points so you have everything you need to know. Yellow cold warning in effect across all of southern Ontario, with wind chill values -30 to -35 through Monday morning. This is Toronto's coldest sustained pattern since 2015. Frostbite can develop in 10 to 30 minutes at -30, faster at -35. Light snow and freezing drizzle develops tonight into Tuesday morning. Black ice risk for Tuesday's commute. Tuesday brings significant warm-up with temperatures jumping to 0 or above, accompanied by light to moderate snow. Gradual improvement through the week with highs around -1 to +1 by Valentine's Day weekend. Long-range models suggest potential return of cold late February. Remember to check Environment Canada for the latest updates at weather.gc.ca. This is a developing situation, and while we're seeing improvement on the horizon for the middle of the week, tonight's transition to snow and freezing drizzle requires vigilance, and the long-term pattern remains unsettled. I'll be monitoring this closely and bringing you updates as conditions change. I'm committed to keeping you informed and keeping you safe during this significant and prolonged winter weather event. Now, I want to hear from you. What's the coldest wind chill you've experienced this winter? Comment your location and temperature. Let's see where it's been the most brutal across southern Ontario. Have you been dealing with power outages, frozen pipes, or car troubles because of this extreme cold? Share what's been happening in your neighborhood in the comments below. Where are you watching from today? Shout out your city in the comments so we can see our weather community across the region. And who else is absolutely done with this polar vortex? Let me know when you think this cold pattern will finally break for good. Drop your forecast in the comments. If you found this forecast helpful, please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel for daily weather updates. I'm here every single day bringing you the most accurate forecast for southern Ontario. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any important weather alerts, especially with this active winter weather pattern we're in and the potential for more cold returning later this month. I really appreciate you guys watching and trusting me to keep you informed. Your safety is my priority, and I'm committed to bringing you the most accurate forecast daily. Look out for each other during this prolonged cold event. Check on your neighbors, especially the elderly and those who are vulnerable. We're all in this together, and we'll get through this winter together. Stay safe out there, southern Ontario. Bundle up, limit your time outside today, watch for that slippery weather arriving tonight, and know that warmer days are coming by midweek. Take care of each other, and I'll see you in the next one.